Just randomly speaking, I don't know why this popped into my head, but I was thinking, if I had to list all the work-related things I did this week, or if someone said to me, you don't have to describe everything you've done, but list 5 things that you've done this week. I think first on the list, at least chronologically, would be what I did on Sunday evening. I watched the red carpet show before the Academy Awards. Not the actual Oscars, that's actually much too tedious for me, but I like the red carpet. By the way, if there's anyone here who is remotely considering being a rabbi, Ethan? I just want to emphasize how great our vocation is. Like, where else, what other profession can an employee ask in answer to a question, what'd you do this week? Say, well, I watched the red carpet show. I'm completely serious, because I was researching this Dvar Torah. Those expert fashionistas analyzing what all the world's beautiful people were wearing, and from every wardrobe success to, how do you call that, wardrobe malfunction? It was important background information for the Parsha of the week. And next week is Purim, the annual dressing up or dressing down festival of the Jewish people, and I thought I could glean some ideas about what to wear from watching this red carpet show. In Parshat Tetzaveh, this week's Torah portion, there's an entire chapter, Exodus chapter 28, that goes into exquisite detail about the fashion preferences of the high priest of Israel. 43 verses are devoted to the description of the clothes of Aaron and his sons. And these aren't any old clothes, you pick off the rack or you find in the closet and you throw them on. The Torah specifically says, Ve'asu ma'aseh choshev. And these clothes should be the work of designers, skilled craftsmen and practitioners. Chachmei lev. Asher milev tiv ruach chokhmah, world-class garment makers who received insight and artistic skill from God himself. And the colors that go into the priest's clothes would have made Versace or Armani ecstatic. Blues and purples and scarlets and gold and precious stones and silver and emeralds and turquoise, sapphires, amethyst, crystal, lapis lazuli. Not your standard Walmart off-the-rack variety, right? What's described in Exodus chapter 28 is high fashion. Gorgeous gimps. Hair-raising headwear, luscious laces, tantalizing tatting, plucky pleats, seamless seams, dyes to die for, wonderful weaves, wefts, and warps. I don't even understand half of these things. And none of that factory outlet shopping, this was all the highest quality, the most expensive components, and the most flawless, mistake-free design. If there was a flaw in the garment, it had to be made all over again. You couldn't just go to the warehouse shop and get it on discount. The Bible ordains that only the most talented of the ancient fashion artisans would be able to work on Aaron's clothes, people who were skilled not only in design but in sourcing. Because after all, where in the wilderness would you locate carnelian, chrysolite, and beryl? God instructs Aaron's breast piece to contain these crystals. You had to locate middlemen from the mines of Midian or the quarries of Cush, or notice a Nabatean traveling to the great trading city of Petra. And by the way, does anyone actually know what carnelian, chrysolite, and beryl are? I didn't until I saw it on the red carpet on Sunday. Gemstones, carnelian is brownish red, chrysolite is yellowish green, and beryl is bluish green. Anyway, the high priest would wear this, and the high priest would hang golden bells on the fringes of his robe. Exodus states, on the hem, make pomegranates of blue, purple, and crimson yarns all around the hem with bells of gold between them, a golden bell and a pomegranate, a golden bell and a pomegranate, all around the hem of the robe. Some 14 years ago, one of these bells with the pomegranates was actually discovered by archaeologists in a drainage ditch near the western wall at Robinson's Arch. Remember, those of you who were with me on one of our trips, you remember that Robinson's Arch, which was the archway built to allow ancient pilgrims to go up to the Temple Mount. So they found one of these bells that is described in Exodus chapter 28. And the archaeologists speculate that one of the priests lost this bell on the way up to the temple. And it fell into the drainage channel below, where it lay undisturbed for 2,000 years until 2011. When archaeologists happened to find it. And you can see a picture of that bell online if you go into the Israel Antiquities Authority. There were elaborate sashes, amazing headwear. Coco Chanel could have learned a thing or two. Fine linens of the softest animal hairs. There were designer belts. Really, the Bible uses the term cheshev, thoughtful design. Not just a plain belt, but, I don't know, the ancient equivalent of Bottega Veneta for men. So why all this elaborate fashion? It's deeply surprising because the Bible rarely pauses to give this kind of detail for anything. We don't know what Moses wore. We don't know what Joshua wore. We assume they wore plain old desert clothes. But it is so unimportant to the Bible that the Torah never mentions the physical attributes of even its greatest heroes. We don't know what Moses looked like. We don't know what Abraham looked like. We know that Sarah and Rebekah and Rachel and Esther were beautiful, but we don't know what made them beautiful. We don't know how tall they were. We don't know what was the color of their hair. The one Israelite who was described as tall, anybody know this? Who said that? Good. Of course, you know everything. Say it again. The one Israel who was described by these physical attributes and particular emphasized in the Bible that he was tall was King Saul. The Bible describes his height because it's important for us to know that the first king of Israel stood head and shoulder above everyone else. He looked like a king. He had to be. He was the first king. He looked regal. He was described as the most handsome of the Israelites. No one was handsomer than King Saul. But remember, King Saul's line ended with him, and he was replaced by the line of David. So the point of emphasizing Saul's imposing physical appearance seems to be that the outward signs of his stature are not actually what counts. What counts is what's on the inside. Saul was a towering man of strength. David was a shorter poet. But it was David who slew the giant Goliath. And it was David who established the line of kings that would exist for 1,000 years. The Messianic era would be ushered in by someone who is a descendant of the line of David. And it seems to me that this is also the point of the elaborate descriptions of the clothes of the high priest. Mark Twain, the author of All Wise Thoughts, he wrote, "There is no power without clothes. Strip the leaders to the skin, and no state can be governed. Naked people have very little influence on society." The key phrase in Tetzaveh is lechavod uletif'aret, for kavod and tif'aret, a phrase that really is impossible to fully translate, but it means something like for beauty and for dignity, for beauty and for glory. So these are the key elements. First, beauty. Who said that Judaism is unconcerned with beauty? Beauty inspires, reminding us of our essential humanity. Only human beings value beauty for its own sake, that there is no utilitarian purpose for it. In the animal world, everything is utilitarian. The garments of animals, their fur, their skin, these serve one primary purpose: to preserve and safeguard the animals in their natural habitat. For us, we find pleasure and meaning in art and beauty. The winter coat serves not only to keep us warm, but to heighten our senses. Deep down, this is what artists, composers, architects, fashion designers, that's what they do for us. They remind us that we're human. They elevate our senses and encourage us to focus on higher thoughts and higher aspirations. Hence, the clothes of the high priest needed to be beautiful, tiferet, gorgeous, stunning. Their garments needed to take people's breath away so that their hearts skipped a beat in recognition of the gift of light, of life, and the heights to which we can ascend. But the Bible is careful to balance kavod with tif'aret. Kavod, a word that means something like dignity, respect, glory. That is, designing beautiful clothes, building beautiful buildings, painting beautiful pictures, composing beautiful songs. These cannot come at the expense of dignity. In the end, beauty is the outer facade, the content of the person, the values of the institution. These are what are fundamental. The clothes of the high priest represent God. If the clothes are beautiful, but the high official is corrupt, then the outer beauty destroys the meaning and undermines the purpose of the institution. The whole point of the garment is to honor the institution and its values, l'chavod u'letif'aret, for beauty and for dignity. That's why judges wear robes, even when they go to the State of the Union address. That's why the university faculty and students wear gowns at the graduation ceremony. They enhance the dignity of the wearer and the prestige of the office. And so in the end, outer beauty is supposed to enhance our struggle for inner beauty, not replace inner beauty with outer artificiality, which is so common nowadays in our era. If the judges are corrupt, if the university officials are undignified, if the high priest has low character, if the composer is racist, they undermine rather than enhance the dignity of the institution. It's as if they wear gorgeous Purim masks that hide their inner ugliness. In the Bible, as King David is about to die, there's a description about how he tried to warm himself in the Jerusalem winter, but could not get warm no matter how many blankets they piled on him. The Talmud is interested in why the king couldn't get warm, despite the many layers of clothes and blankets that covered him. And the sages take us back to an earlier episode described in the Bible. Those of you who have been to Israel with me, you remember when we went to Ein Gedi? Some of you on that trip where we went to Ein Gedi in the desert on the way to Masada? The Bible describes the caves of Ein Gedi. And according to the Bible, in one of those caves, near Ein Gedi, the young David, the future king, hid from King Saul, who wanted to kill him. David was hiding in one of those caves when the king came in, either to to sleep or to do his biological needs. The Hebrew is not really clear. But either way, David cut off a corner of Saul's cloak to show the king that he could have killed him if he wanted to, but he allowed him to live. But Talmudic sages point out that David paid a price for this in his old age, when his own royal garments couldn't keep him warm. He disrespected the clothing of the king. That garment represented not only the high fashion of royalty at the time, but the very institution of state leadership. And that's why he was punished through the same royal clothing in his old age. Whoever treats clothing contemptuously will derive no benefit from them in the end, say the rabbis. And that's the point. Beauty, yes, but not at the expense of decency, honor, glory, and dignity. Yes to beauty that enhances dignity. Beauty that reminds us how beautiful it is to be alive.